What's up, everyone? My name is Alex, and I use he, him, his pronouns or AMR's pronouns, and I am talking about what my headspace is like and how it functions. Just as, I guess, a reminder, I have a dissociative disorder, and I have a video that'll be linked either on the end card or I'll try to remember it in the description, but I have a disorder where it is multiple entities residing in one body. That's basically the idea. I try to recap every time just because these videos might get confusing if I'm talking about all this stuff and no one knows where it's coming from. So if you've watched that first video about having a dissociative disorder, then you'll understand. And I think at some point I may actually put a playlist together so that people can find those videos and actually like understand what's going on and kind of see them in sequential order rather than just happening across this video not knowing what's going on. So for a lot of dissociative people, Headspace is supposed to be kind of like a central hub for headmates. It's a place where headmates will go when they're not fronting, which is the person who is in the most control, I think is the best way to put that. The person who is actually the person acting out front and is the person controlling the body. The headspace is usually where they are when they're not around. Usually when they're not fronting, they're in headspace. And I mean, for a lot of people, headspace can be very complex. Headspace can be very simple, and some people do not have a headspace at all. So it's a really multifaceted experience, but I wanted to specifically talk about my experiences with it. I guess what I use it for, basically, it's a way, partially a way to escape. It's kind of where I go when I'm doing something that really doesn't require a lot of thought. Usually when I'm doing mindless work at a job or if I'm taking a shower. The shower is the biggest place for me to dissociate because I'm just kind of alone, and it leaves me just, I don't know, it's such a weird space, like being in the shower. Like something about it, going in there, and it's very like, there's a, what would you call it? There's a routine to it, and eventually my mind just goes into autopilot, and then I'm not there all of a sudden. Sometimes when I'm laying in bed at night, that's also another place where I might kind of escape into headspace. And it's where I go when I'm feeling the most dissociative, usually if it's, sensory overload or some kind of emotional turmoil. That's normally where I would go because there are certain triggers that cause me to dissociate. So that's also another point, I guess. And Headspace is actually also, for myself and a lot of people, a place to communicate with headmates. So decision making, problem solving, general checking in too. That's also like what Headspace could be used for, is like a sort of like a communication hub. And like that's just that's just normal, I guess. A lot of system related things happen in Headspace. It's where everyone goes to argue, usually, but it's also a place to communicate as well. And just as a side note, I am a median system, which means that I am somewhere in between fully plural and singlet, which is someone who does not have a dissociative disorder. And because of that, the three of us tend to blend a lot, and very rarely, if at all, people, like one of us will be fronting, but it's not as easy for somebody to front. Usually Headspace is used to switch, which means like to switch between headmates. That's usually like one goes into Headspace while the other one comes out. I have a harder time doing that. It's not like it's something I have control over anyway. I mean, I could ask people to come to the front, but usually it's not. Usually there's a trigger and there's not any kind of real control over it, but I don't have the intrinsic ability to fully escape into Headspace or go into Headspace. I call it escape. I guess because I'm dissociative, that's the best wording for it, is like escapism, escaping, not being here, like going away, leaving, whatever you want to like call it, like whatever similar terminology. That's like the best way I can use to describe being dissociative, is using that like kind of language, I guess. A lot of people will subconsciously or consciously try to build a headspace that works for their headmates. The most common format being literally a big house for everybody. No matter how many headmates, people typically find a way to condense them into one space that's kind of organized, that has some kind of function, some kind of like format to it, structure, that's the word I'm looking for, some kind of structure to it. Like each headmate might have their own room or their own section of the house. That's the most common thing that I have seen. But for a lot of other people, sometimes it's like different, I don't know what you'd call it, different like worlds or planets. For me, Headspace is really empty. It is literally space. There's nothing really to see other than like a vast expanse of just dark. Like it just looks like outer space. And there is sort of like a central hub where like people can come in it. Well, people, not just anybody. Headmates can like kind of enter and exit, but and that's also where like headmates can like come together and talk, but it's not really well formed, and that's kind of normal too. A lot of people will like have a fully formed headspace, and I don't know if that means that like someone struggles more with dissociation, and because of that they have a very fully formed and complex and detailed headspace. I'm not sure if there's any correlation to that. I consider myself pretty dissociative. I have depersonalization is another like issue that I deal with, and I don't know like to what severity compared to other people, so I don't know if that has anything to do with my headspace not being a very functional place. It's really just people come in and out, and it's used for the most basic functions. I have never been able to sort of like tap into that or make any sort of changes. Any attempts, it just doesn't quite work, I guess. It's more than just having an imagination. It's really building a space together with your headmates. And I mean, we don't have the most healthy way to communicate and decide on things that we agree on. So that's also another difficulty, is problems communicating between us. Like that also plays into not being able to figure out how to utilize headspace in the best way. As far as I know, it's generally implied that myself and my other two headmates have kind of their own spaces in Headspace, their own like planets where they reside. I have not seen Avery's and Austin's. Like I haven't been able to explore a lot, mostly because that also requires a bit of dissociating. So it's hard to like it's kind of hard to trigger a dissociative state so that I may like explore the rest of Headspace and see like what there is in it, what there is out there. It feels like a vast expanse of so much that like out there sounds more accurate than saying in here. But I mean, as far as I know, like Austin resides in a place that's very dark and heavily forested. I don't think that I have really a space to reside in Headspace. I think that usually I am at that central hub in the middle of everything, which usually takes the form of some kind of palace or some kind of empty, like, castle-like monument in the middle of nowhere. And there's nothing else really. There's not a lot of tangibility, which I guess is where you get that, like, space, like, not aesthetic. That sounds like it's something fun. It's not that fun. But just it functions as a very nebulous, intangible space. And the same goes for even like places that I'm aware of, like where Austin resides in Headspace and where I usually reside. There's still some kind of form of intangibility, something missing, something like weird about it. And I've never explained this to anybody, so even now I'm learning how to explain it, how to describe all the details, because I mean, I've never talked to anybody about it. I've written about it, and I've also painted. I have painted Headspace. I painted something on canvas, but I think I also made a digital piece because I was trying to figure out like what Headspace looked like in my mind, and I tried to put it to something physical. Headmates in Headspace. I can almost always find Austin somewhere in Headspace. I usually know where he is located. Avery, on the other hand, I have no idea how to find Avery. Avery has like almost like a non-physical presence in Headspace, so I can talk to her and I can have conversations with her and we can kind of work problems out together, but I've never seen her in Headspace. I don't think either of us know what she looks like her herself. And just like as a note, I've been using they them pronouns for Avery, but Avery will go by very many pronouns, not he him at all, but I think right now her preference is going by she, her. So I am trying to get used to that and honor that. I forget that Avery is a completely neutral, genderless name. So I am not neutral. It's it's for either, really. Not that it's a genderless name or neutral name, but it's for either. So I'm trying to get used to that because I've always attributed the name to something genderless. So, yes, I think right now she would prefer to be referred to with she, her pronouns. But, I mean, other than, like, those points, other than all that, I can almost always freely communicate with Austin and Avery no matter what. Like, even if I have no way of tapping into Headspace or seeing my headmates if I go into Headspace, we still have a pretty good ability to communicate. Austin isn't as present recently as like he usually is, which is kind of strange. He's been kind of really like in the back of everything, like not really getting involved in anything, not really getting involved in my life, and I don't know what that means really, but usually I'm talking to Avery. Usually I'm having some kind of discussion with Avery, and I've never had a problem in general with communicating. Sometimes it's hard to maintain communication, I really can't. It's really hard for me to, I can't be very present in the moment and be able to talk to headmates. I need kind of like almost a just completely neutral space. I need to be in a space where I would be more likely to dissociate, like being by myself. That's the most success I've had with keeping in touch with headmates. I would like to be able to build more into Headspace. I have always been a very spiritual person. I've always been into mysticism and witchcraft and magic. So I want that to be able to tie in with this. I know a lot of people they're very spiritual, and that kind of plays into how they build Headspace and how they utilize it, and even like their ability to use Headspace. Like that's like people will use that as a way, whereas some people like maybe have subconsciously built Headspace and they can't do anything with it. It's not as flexible. People are wired differently. People are, I think more people are wired for plurality. Some people are not. And I think like within that, some people have the ability to build Headspace or shape it to whatever they want it to be. Whereas other people, it's very solid, very like, this is how it is. It may build upon itself, but it's not going to change otherwise. Like nothing you can do will change the way it looks or the way that it functions. It is there's a lot of variety to the experiences. There's a lot of different facets to consider. I mean, I guess my personal goals, it's not really goals, it's just what I wish would be a possibility is utilizing that central hub as like a concrete space for everyone to come together to actually be able to discuss and talk and see each other. And like where each of us reside in Headspace on our individual little planets, wherever they may be, I want them to be closer. I want it to be not a huge space of emptiness. I am agoraphobic, and I don't think having a headspace that looks like that is very beneficial to me, but I don't know how that kind of thing works. I don't know how to really tap into that sort of thing and make changes or like anything like that. I may ask my Discord server now that I think about it, because I realize that there's a lot of people who are dissociative in my Discord server. So I plan on I think I could go into like one of the channels and like ask about it, I guess. I don't normally talk about it. It's such like any brain stuff is so personal to me. It's really hard to talk about it. So it's weird to it's weird to like talk about it out loud, especially since a lot of this I've never talked about before. But I mean, I guess that's all I have. Everyone's experiences are different. Some people have a headspace, some people don't. Some people's headspaces are a lot more detailed and easier to visualize than others. Some people, it's more nebulous, intangible. That's how like mine is really. And I'm not really, my goal, like I'm not really focused on making Headspace something that I want. I kind of take it as it is and adapt to like whatever happens in Headspace, whatever changes happen, because originally there was nothing there, and now suddenly there is at least something to go off of, something that I can like utilize. So that's just something that I personally would like to learn to navigate, but I don't think I really want to change it. I think that's like my personal opinion. A lot of people think differently of their own headspace, but for me, that's just that's just how it is for me, I guess. So, question of the week: if you have a dissociative disorder, what is your headspace like, and do you even have one? A lot of people have maps. A lot of people have like a detailed map of their headspace, which is awesome. That is the best way to sort of it's sort of like visualize somebody's headspace or to like describe it to somebody else. It's usually color coded, labeled. It labels like pathways, like this is how you get from here to here. I like that. I think that's really cool. So that's, I mean, some people will have that on hand. Some people may not have much of an answer to the question. Specifically for dissociative people, I really try not to put out a question of the week that is super specific, because I want more people to be able to talk about it. I don't want to like alienate people, but Sometimes I have topics that I talk about that are so specific to me, and don't relate to my audience as well, but the general focus of the channel, I mean, it's identity, but the general focus I want to be like gender and pronouns, maybe like attractional labels, but it's kind of gonna keep coming back to the same one topic for me, because I think that's where I have the most questioning, where I have the most experience with, you know, looking into my identity and finding labels for it. Like that's what I have the most experience in, I guess. That's it. That's all I have. I am off from work for 3 days straight, which is nice. I've been able to catch up on recording and editing, making thumbnails, and like cleaning the house. I mean, I don't normally talk about money, but finally my fiance got his stimulus check. We were waiting on that. I got mine immediately. We were waiting on his, and mine went away. We bought whatever we needed, and we caught up on bills and other things, and then it was like gone. But his came in recently, so we were able to get, like, I got a new vacuum cleaner of all things. I was able to get like I've gotten like new kitchen things, and I planned on like getting some new clothes or like a new pair of shoes. Like these are the things that are exciting to me, is that like I could buy like household stuff and like functional things. But I'm doing okay. I'm doing a bit better in 2021. Still working on me. Like I've come to realize that I will always be a work in progress, and this YouTube channel is a really good place for me to vent about that and to talk about being a work in progress. So if you ever feel like you, I guess, like aren't doing so well, that like you're not succeeding, or you're not, like you feel like you could be working on yourself better, you could have it all figured out. I am 31 years old. I mean, as of uploading this, I'm not 31 until 2 days from now, the date that I'm recording this, but I'm 31 years old and I do not have it all figured out. So if you need that for a bit of validation, there you go. So anyway, I am signing off for now. See you later.